Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode 230. Today we have the one and only Byron Lazine. You know, we have greats on this broadcast all of the time, and today, we've got a national celebrity in Byron Lazine, Broke Agent Media, the real word, his own team that is the number one team in Connecticut. And so we're going to get back and get really into a lot of different things, ask some really weird questions, and just have a lot of fun. We'll be right back. Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. So one of the things I always tell people is that this is the longest running live broadcast in real estate. Broadcast. Mr. Lazine has the longest running podcast in real estate. So there's two celebrities here, not just one. So I just want to let you know.
Well, I don't know. I haven't done the fact checking to know if it's the longest running podcast, but when you were saying longest running live broadcast, I said, well, my podcast has gone 246 or 247 weeks straight, but we're pretty close there. 230 to
we are pretty close. And you know what? We're both in awe of each other, obviously, because we're both here, right? So
100%. No, I appreciate you having me.
So I appreciate having you coming on and stuff. So I start the broadcast, Byron, with the same question to everyone, and it's Real Estate Talk TGIF, of course, episode 230. And the question is, what does TGIF stand for?
Well, for me, it stands for Full House. What's the thing? Full House used to be on. It was that run of TGIF. Friday night. Yeah, ABC. It was Shriek. Oh no, not Shriek. What was his name? Yeah, Screech. Right? No, not Saved by the Bell. That's Saved by the Bell. No.
Right?
Urkel. That's who I'm thinking of. Urkel.
Yeah.
Wow, I really don't know my stuff. Urkel, that's the guy. He was on TGIF. Full House, bowl of popcorn. Back before you found out soda was killing you, probably a Dr. Pepper for me, and watching a little TGIF.
Yeah, but TGIF on this broadcast means thank God it's finale because it's my broadcast.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go. So anyway, so look, we've been going back and forth a little bit before the broadcast, talking about you, what we got going on. You got a really interesting story about how you got started in this business, left it, came back, whatever. Tell us your story about how you got to where you are today in real estate with the podcast, etc. Tell me your story on that.
So how I got into real estate?
How you got into real estate, how you got from that point at 19 to today.
Yeah, so 19 is when I got in, basically about 20 years ago. This is during the 2004, 2005, 2006 timeframe, 19 to 21 years old. I bought 3 homes, and these are the mortgage crisis years. 3 homes, 4 mortgages, didn't know what the heck I was doing at all. And long story short, because of my lack of knowledge, because I wasn't a business operator, I was just some kid who thought buying real estate, becoming an investor, was going to make me somebody. And I was going to be able to, just become an instant investor without having the knowledge and the background and the experience. When everything fell apart by my mid-20s, I went bankrupt in real estate. I went bankrupt and foreclosed on all 3 of those homes. So in 2012, after living in a few years of just regret and looking backwards and working a job that I hated, I decided to get back into real estate as a real estate professional, got my license and started selling and building a team. And it was at that time that I started to realize I need knowledge from other people. Dave, you would have been a great mentor for me back in those days for sure, and still are today. I mean, you've got 43 years of experience. So I started to really attach myself and my time around those people who have done it longer than me, but also those that just have more experience, that are doing something right, that we're studying. And I actually started to read for the first time and getting my hands around how to be better every single day. And started to build a team, started to build infrastructure around that, started to become a real business operator. And 2012, 2013, 2014, because you've been doing this 43 years, 2015, those years in the Northeast, because you're Jersey, in the Northeast, those weren't easy years. In
No.
fact, 2012 was the bottom of the Connecticut real estate market. It wasn't 2009. 2009, they bottomed out, ticked up a little bit in 10 and 11, and then the true bottom was 2012. So agents are like, oh my gosh, another bottom. In 2012 in Connecticut, they were running for the hills. They were going
Yes,
and getting
correct.
insurance jobs, regular 9 to 5 job, all just getting out of the industry. Similar to what we're going to see in 2023, where agents are going to be going out and getting jobs because they've decided they're not able to cut it in this business. And that's only because they're not around the right people. It's only because they're not in the right situation
100%.
to succeed, because you and I both know there's going to be a ton of deals. There's going to be a ton of closings. And
100%.
I didn't care in 2012 that other people were leaving, because I'm looking on the MLS every day and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's opportunity for me. There's listings to be signed. There are buyers. In Connecticut, there wasn't a lot of them, but there was some of them. And there's closings happening. It's just a question on, is my name on them or not? And so I started getting my name on them, and I started getting my name on a lot of them. And at one point in my first couple of years, I had 50 listings, because I knew that listings were the power, right? I knew that gave me the biggest stick in my market. That and getting onto Facebook back in those times, so that I could start to build some credibility, have some attention. You have attention in this business with what you're doing on social, but you really have the attention by holding the inventory. So listings gave me that attention.
So you decided to really get into it and go after the listings. You had 50 listings. What was your methodology? Because people that will listen to this, they hear agents say, "Oh, I had 50 listings," and they don't know how you did that. They're thinking, "Oh, it's just magic," or he bought leads from Zillow, which we may get into later. Who knows?
I didn't buy leads from Zillow for 6 years. I didn't even get into Zillow about the first 6 years of my career. So,
what was your methodology to get those 50 listings?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. So I'm bankrupt. I've got no money. My wife just paid for our wedding out of her cash saved up. My parents don't have no money. Her parents don't have no money. She paid for the wedding. Okay. So I've got my back to the wall. So I'm doing things that don't cost me any money. I'm using the phone, making the calls, because at the end of the day, I've got to get somebody. If I'm going to put out a video, or I'm going to send out a piece of mail, which I was doing a bunch of that too. I was mailing and I was calling, but no matter what I'm doing, I'm trying to get a conversation with somebody. So let me just cut through all the other noise. And this is still something in 2023 that we need to be doing a lot of, cutting through the noise and making the phone call. I just had a conversation with an agent before we jumped on here, Dave, and he's got a great mail campaign and a great video campaign for 2023. And I said, this is all good, but if you're not backing it up with making 50 phone calls a day, and people hate hearing that, but it's just the reality of the market that we're going into, then all that other stuff isn't going to have the impact that you want. See, when I have a conversation with you and I'm following up consistently, and then you get a piece of mail, or then you see my videos on Instagram or wherever, that becomes the icing on the cake. That becomes the little nudge that pushes me to I'm going to reach back out. But it starts with the consistent communication, having conversations, being curious, asking a bunch of questions, going deep, and ultimately making those calls so that you have these other little mail, video, whatever it is, push them over to make the decision to work with you.
Yeah, and this is nothing new, Byron, because when I had my brokers, we would do mailings for the agents after just listed, just sold, whatever. And I got a lot of pushback when I said to the agents, look, we will do these and pay for these if you follow up with a phone call to everybody we send the stuff to. Now, this was before and after social, right? Because we're starting in the 90s into the early 2000s. And Without that, without using this thing, which is called a phone, by the way, it just can't be done. I mean, it's just you can have a business. I do all my business from social media. Bullshit, right? If you wanted to really grow a business and market it and to exponentially grow it, you've got to use land, sea, and air approach with everything you do. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I know I do know some agents that are generating the majority of their leads, let's call it, on social. That being said, at the end of the day, they're getting on the phone call with those people and they're getting face to face. So it's
Exactly.
not just hey, I'm going to hit a link in your bio on Instagram and my house will be listed in 2 days and we never talk. Your ability to persuade and convert over the phone and then in person when you meet, or on Zoom if they're out of market, it's got to be on point. You've got to be able to talk to people. And so why not go right to the source? Okay, now if you're like, well, Byron, I do 20 million a year just off of my Instagram business or
Okay.
whatever, that's fine. If you have ambitions to build an actual saleable business, because right now you have a personal job as a real estate agent, right?
That's right.
But if you have an ambition to build it into a business, you're going to need other sources of income, sources of leads rather, so that you can start to outsource and start to build infrastructure around your business, have some processes and some systems that are saleable. And you're going to need to start getting more deals on top of that 20. Making calls is the fastest and easiest way to start building those instant deals. And listen, if you're not doing it, somebody else is getting those deals. Somebody else is taking the time to go direct to the source in your market because they're hungry, they're new, they want it more than you. And those are good deals out there.
So they certainly are. You talked earlier about the number of agents and how agents are going. You basically intimated how agents would leave the market. The interesting thing, the statistic that a lot of people don't know is that when COVID started, there were about 1.5 million agents, and then a year later, there were 1.6 million agents. And what people don't know about that one statistic is that 400,000 of those agents were new agents. So we had lost a lot of people because of COVID and the slowdown of the business. Now we're up to that 1.6 number. What do you think is going to happen to those people that got in to the get rich quick? I got to say that because that's why they got into business, because anybody could sell a house. Same as 05, 6, and 7, where they turned into order takers. What do you think the future of the agent through 23 and 24 is? The numbers going to remain the same? And what are they going to do differently?
I had a conversation with Nick Bailey, CEO of Remax, on podcast, and he talked about just what you just said, agents becoming order takers, and they don't know any other way. So, in their defense, they were doing what needed to be done the last 2 years for sure.
Yes.
But this market's different, and it's going to take a different type of agent to really succeed in 2023. I'm pretty excited about the crop of new agents that are in the business. Okay, so why do I say that? I believe the ones, and not all of them, a lot of them I see making huge mistakes on who they're surrounding themselves with. But the ones that are surrounding themselves with the right team, the right brokerage infrastructure, the right masterminds, the right coaching, all these different things to help guide them in for what's coming, like to prepare them for this is what it's going to take. Gary Keller just said, if you did 1 hour of prospecting in 2020 and 2021, and that got you the business results that you desired, it's going to take you 3 hours, maybe even 4 hours in 2023. And there are agents that are surrounding themselves with this type of messaging that absolutely are going to win in 2023, new agents, because you know what? Quite frankly, they can work weekends. If they're young and they've got less responsibility, they got time and energy,
Right.
and they've got charisma, and they understand some of the things, the way the world works today. They've got a lot to their advantage. So I'm excited for them for all of that. But it starts with Yeah, I see this happen at you know, because you've been at 43 years. I see this happen at the 3-year mark with all agents. Their head starts to grow, and they think
Yeah.
they've got all the answers. The
Yeah,
ones
at
that
least
decide, I'm gonna be like Gino Blafari, who's been in this game, as long as you have 40 plus years, and he runs all of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. I'm going to be like him throughout my entire career, where I'm always going to learn. I'm a learner each and every single day. Gino knows he can learn from somebody that's 7 years in the business, 15 years in the business, a team leader, a broker, or whatever. He's learning from everybody, every level of this business, an executive. He's never not learning. And the new agents that don't stop learning, that surround themselves with this type of knowledge and experience, are going to win in 2023. And so I'm excited about that new crop. The ones that don't are going to be the ones blaming the brokerage, blaming the whoever, because they didn't go out and get themselves in the right situation, and they'll be looking for a job like those ones in 2012 did.
So when we look at that situation, blaming the broker and saying, from the old saying, the leads suck, right? Do you think a different model will work better for the agents that want to get into business? Now let's look at it this way, right? So I was around before internet leads, and I was there when internet leads started. I started with Google pay per click at 5 cents for a local click, right? And that was nothing. Now that same 5 cent click is $15, right? So, but they still said the leads suck back then, and they're going to say the leads suck now. But I think what we're looking at is we're looking at the brokers and team leaders starting to change the way they think, the ISA model, right? Giving out appointments rather than leads, because let's face it, if you are an agent, somebody wants to get in this business to show houses and help people. No one said you had to prospect. No one said you needed to follow up. No one said you had to go knock on doors. What the hell? I mean, right? So the whole premise is that if the base of our business changes from giving out leads to giving out appointments, will that help the agent coming into the business now?
Give it if they're in a situation where they're receiving leads, is that going to be helpful? Is that where you're?
Yes. Is the ISA model the transition from the old agent to the middle agent?
Yeah, I mean, okay. Absolutely. I mean, I believe in ISAs or SDRs. We have an SDR team, Connecticut. We're going to do like 750 transactions as we close out this year here. So I only say that because a lot of people have seen me on Instagram recently because I'm pushing so hard, and they're like, oh, well, what could this guy know? Well, been doing it a little bit of time, and we're doing quite a bit of deals. And so I've got an SDR team, right? ISA team, whatever. And I think that's very helpful for agents, because agents have a really hard time being disciplined, being accountable to follow up, being accountable to their database. And the really good agents don't, and that's why they're really good agents. But a lot of agents do have a hard time. So being able to have an appointment served up to them, but to have an SDR infrastructure, if it's a Zillow lead, you're paying Zillow 35 points on that deal. There's a lot of hands in that pot. And so you've got to do more transactions. The agent that's successful today, if they're doing less of the prospecting, less of the appointment scheduling, less of all these other things that they used to do maybe 10, 15 years ago, well, they're also getting less of the commission. So they've got to do more deals. The good news with that model, especially for agents just starting out, is I'd rather see you do 40, 50 transactions every single year for your first few years. That gives you a paycheck every single week. Might not be as big of a paycheck as if you were getting a higher split. And now you have over 100 clients within your first couple of your past clients, right? You got over 100 clients now. You have a real database, a real following of people that can refer you business. You should be able to get 20% of referrals out of your book, whether they know somebody or they're transacting again. And now you are in a position where you did all the work, you ran around like crazy, so that you have business automatically coming to you because you helped over 100 people do deals. It doesn't start like that on day one. You have to, in my opinion, unless you're walking in with a huge database because you did something prior and you know you can convert on that database. If you're walking in though with nothing, you have to get around a system where you can get these ready to go leads and take a small split to be able to get business now. It
Right.
will be hard without ridiculous levels of accountability and discipline and commitment to get started in this business any other way. So I believe in that model for sure, which is what's taking over the last 5 years, these teamrages,
Right.
whether it's a team owned brokerage or a massive mega team within a brokerage, these teamrages, you see it year over year. They're getting more market share. They're getting more market share because what they're doing works.
Yeah. So when we look at the teams and we look at the requirements of teams, it's like you said, it's a brokerage within the brokerage. No matter what model you're with, what franchise, what company,
Yeah.
independent or not, whatever, right? Um, so when you look at the team and the ISA model, people being given leads, and we look at the agent that's not going to have an issue doing the follow up, like you started using the phone. Did you have personally an issue picking up the phone, making the call? Was there a roadblock that you had to get over? Because this is the biggest thing for an agent that really wants to get started is that block, that I don't know where to start, because that's what I hear mostly from the new agents I work with.
I actually really wanted it. I didn't just like homes when I was starting. 75% of agents are going to tell you I got into real estate because I like homes.
Yep. Yep.
And they're going to sound like every other agent and they're going to blend in. I
Right.
got into real estate because I went bankrupt in real estate and it was literally eating me from the inside out not to be in real estate. And I wanted to help people avoid making the mistakes that I made. So I had a real USP about getting into the business. It really connected with buyers and sellers when I would tell them the story, as opposed to, well, I just like homes. So I didn't have a roadblock. I really wanted it. I wanted it as bad as I wanted to breathe. I watched that Eric Thomas video of him talking to those Michigan State University kids every single day for a year straight when I got into the business. How bad do you want it? You got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. Of just like making sure I was willing to do whatever it takes to talk to enough people who are interested in buying, selling, investing in real estate. And listen, in 2012, the answer was no more often than it was a yes. Nobody want. Why would I want to sell my house? Houses aren't selling, Byron. Do I want to buy a house? No, I don't. I don't have any money to buy a house. The economy was horrific in 2012.
Exactly.
So I wanted it so bad. I was super clear on my goals and nothing was going to stop me. And I just made call after call. And I didn't have Mojo. I didn't have Vulcan 7, whatever. There's a bunch of these dialers now. We use Mojo with the team in Connecticut. I was just going white pages because, again, I didn't have money. I was going white pages on Google,
Right.
reverse looking people up
Right.
and like dialing and making the call. So it would take me 3-4 hours every single morning from 8 to noon. And then I'd be sending out handwritten letters, and then I'd be going on appointments, and then I would do more mail at the end of my night, and I'd go to bed and do it all over again.
Exactly. And what I've been doing as I was in business and out of business and starting to get back into it is I've started helping agents by having a framework for them. The framework begins with role play. The framework begins with making those calls and actually making mistakes. I mean, you wanted it and you had to have made mistakes from here to there every now and then, but it's okay to make mistakes. And that's the one thing that a lot of agents getting in this business don't want to do. They don't want to sound foolish. They don't want to be talked about. They think they're being talked about when the person on the other side of the phone doesn't even hear them. So they have nothing really to worry about when they start making the calls. So when we talk about your business and how the business is being changed as we look at it, is what you said when you started on the phone changed today? I mean, is the script different or is it the same script with a 21st century twist?
No, I mean, the first couple of years, I really didn't have a script. I started coaching maybe my third year into the business. And so then I started getting my hands on some Tom Ferry scripts and other scripts. But
Right.
then I took those, and obviously now I have an a la carte of options of go-to, key hooks, or as Phil Jones calls them, magic words
Magic
that,
words,
that I
right?
can pull from and use at the right time. But I embedded that scripting into my mind, so it never sounded like a script. I haven't made an expired call in some time because I've been out of production for 3 years, but I could still rattle it off. I saw your house, 123 Main Street, was on the market, no longer is. You still having thoughts of selling the property. Don't want to take too much of your time, but I think I've identified the reason why your house didn't sell, right? These types of things. And depending on where they go with it, I can go one way or another with that conversation. But ultimately, speaking very confidently, using the right tonality, being willing to pause at the right time. These are all instincts that you learn over time by practicing with role play
Right.
with people in your office,
Right.
but then by making a lot of calls and seeing what works. And I want just like going on a listing appointment, I was pretty good on the phones early on. So I was generating listing appointments, and then I had 4 listing appointments in a 2-day period. I didn't get one of them. This is why my first year, I was devastated. I'm like, I put all this time, energy, and effort making all these calls, getting all these great appointments. These are great price points and everything, and I didn't get one of the listings. So now I'm like, I'm my confidence on the phone, it's not shining through at the appointment. I'm not like really confident enough doing the takeaway at the appointment, right? I wasn't showing my value, and I had to learn how to do all of that at the appointment.
What was the change? What was the switch that went off that you changed to show your value at the appointment when you had the energy on the phone, but not at the listing appointment?
One of the biggest changes that I made early on listing appointments was, instead of coming in there with desperation for the listing, even though like at the beginning you got no listings, you're brand new, I started going in there, and I learned this from somebody I was working with. I went in there and started to say, hey, there's so much inventory. 2012 is a lot of inventory. So much inventory. So before we get started, we just want to be clear, we're not going to work with everybody. We're very selective on the listings that we're taking, and it's got to be the right fit for us and the right fit for you. So just want to make sure that we're all clear on that. Let's go through. And what we were doing there is basically setting them up to want us more,
Right.
but also to get them at the price point because back then everybody was over listing, right? Jersey,
Yep.
for sure. Same thing as
Absolutely.
Connecticut. Everybody wanted 100,000 more than their house was worth.
Right. So yeah, it's kind of like the pre-qual when you go into a listing presentation with Mike Ferry script and all that stuff. Either going to work with me, not going to work with me, or we're not going to work together, or whatever. But no, it's actually absolutely perfect, and it still is today. So you're involved in a lot of different things, and you can see your logo for Broke Agent Media, The Real Word, and a lot of other things, man. So tell me, what do you spend your time on? What's the thing that you do the most? That changes the question. What do you like most? What's the thing you love to do most today?
I love this industry. I've always loved helping agents. I've always been in the team model and building a team. I've never not been team in the 10 plus years of being a real estate sales professional. I just love helping this industry freaking break the spell that's been cast on it for so many years. And that's what BAM's all about. Like we are breaking the spell of how media is delivered to agents. And just like the way I've always gravitated towards talking about the industry because it's helpful to a lot of agents, right, or what I'm seeing in the industry. And that's been the Real Word pod for, the 240 plus episodes we've done that. So it fit right in, obviously, to the BAM lineup. And so BAM's given us the opportunity to just explode that. Eric obviously had the Broke Agent brand, which everybody loves. I had a media company. We combined those two, and we launched in just this past April with BAM. And the amount of content we're able to put out, because I've got, I've had a full staff of writers for years, and video editors, and we've expanded that since the
Right.
BAM launch. The amount of content we've been able to push out has been really exciting. And so we're playing with BAM is clear. We're going to take over the media landscape in real estate and absolutely dominate that space in our industry. And I love doing that, but I love being from a place of I still own the #1 transaction team in Connecticut, and I still lead that team, and I still can do speaking, and I can still do these other things because it gives us the insight when we're working with a sponsor, when we're creating the right piece of content, when we're dropping a free 15-page ebook of what do the agents really need right now in this market. I'm in the freaking game every single day. I'm in the game deep. I love doing this business, and I do it every day, 7 days a week, really from, outside of any family stuff till the minute I'm up, till the minute I go to bed. And whatever it is, whether it's a team meeting, a BAM meeting, a BAM piece of content, I love anything in this space.
So there's a lot of friction in this business, and there's a lot of friction within teams, a lot of friction within brokerages. But you seem to have had some friction within BAM, where you were supposedly suspended or something. I mean, there's something I heard about that. Talk to me about that.
It's going to be hard to suspend an owner, but there is a man on the loose in Long Island right now, Dan O'Neill, who is trying to ban me from the Walkthrough podcast. He had to fill in for me. I've had some travel recently, and he did a horrific job filling in for me. Maybe I would say maybe not an F, but maybe a D or a D plus. And so I've since taken back the lead hosting chair on the Walkthrough, and he's bitter about that. And I don't care, but I don't know if we'll ever see Dan back on the Walkthrough, because I may ban him from all BAM content going forward. It just may happen.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention that because, I mean, as controversial as I think you and I, we don't try to be, we can be.
I've got a controversial piece of content coming for you next week.
What's that,
Dave? Man? We're going to do our second debate next week. The first debate I did with Ricky Caruth on paid coaching versus free coaching. We're doing a debate next week on the value of real estate appraisers. And I'm going to be debating Scap, the appraiser. He's been the head of a bunch of boards and associations for the appraisal community. He also runs a huge private Facebook group for appraisers. But anybody that's followed The Real Word knows I've had some really explosive podcasts where I talk about appraisers, and the appraisers go crazy. And so next week, Wednesday, this is, I think, the first time we're talking about it. We haven't even promoted it yet, live on the Broke Agent Media YouTube channel. We're going to be having this debate. I mean, this one will be controversial, and I need my real estate community to really show up for me, because I know the appraiser community with the private Facebook group that this guy has is going to show up in a big way. And I'd love your take, Dave. 43 years in the business. I think an appraisal is really worth the paper it's written on. It's one person's value, one person's opinion of the value, and yet they hold so much power. And there's been racial discrimination cases all over, where you can have a lot of bias. You can have an appraiser that shows up, doesn't like the look on my face. This isn't a pretty face to be looking back at you at an appraisal walkthrough, and you just may not like the cut, how I'm walking. You just may not like me, and so you may put 10,000 off. There's a lot of nuances from an appraisal that are just too particular to one person's opinion. That's my opinion. What's yours, Dave?
Yeah, the opinion on basically with appraisers is that sometimes they're made as the deal tells them to be made sometimes. And sometimes when they, get a rock up what, they just, nope, that's not the way it's going to be. This is the way it's going to be. They have their blinders on sometimes, and they're not looking at all the data, and they're not looking into the data. It's just like today, right? So when you price a home Are you looking at the homes that have been on the market for 180 days? Or are you looking at the homes to compare as competitives that are 25 days on the market, 3 days on the market? Or are you looking at those 180s that have had 3 price reductions that still ain't there and have chased down the market to lower the value of the home? The appraiser doesn't look at all of this. They're just, they've got their line on it and they're not really going anywhere. I have family that's in the appraisal business, and, proud to say that that's not the way, that's not their theory, right? So as far as appraisals go, it's not an exact science, which means there has to be more put into it than just a number or to expand their mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense to me. I agree with you. But the appraisers have come at me in a big way, and so I'm looking forward to that debate. Anything with a little bit of controversy is okay.
That's controversial.
And ultimately, I respect this guy a bunch for coming on, and I think these debates that we're trying to push at BAM, like Ricky and I had a deep, long discussion, are really healthy because everybody can learn from it. A lot of people liked what Ricky had to say. A lot of people liked what I had to say. And everybody ultimately walked away saying, hey, this is a win for the industry because we all learned. We had a deep, long discussion. And I'm hoping that's what happens next week too, because, the brokerage community, nobody wants to say anything bad about it. I mean, it's just a bunch of fake baloney. You go to these events and everybody's just got their fake version of themselves up on these panels when we're talking about the executives in the industry, not the agents and team leaders and this kind of thing. Yes. I'm talking about the executives that, and everybody's included in that. I'm not every executive just goes up there and does their sales pitch for their brokerage. And we're not talking about anything real.
No, they're not. And look, luckily enough, I was involved with a great organization, Century 21, for 21 years. And I live 30 minutes from their corporate office. So I was able to get involved. And any broker who was not involved, shame on them because you had the access, right? But it's the same thing. I can go to any event and hear them, I'll say it, pontificate. And I never really wanted to listen to their crap. They were nice people, don't get me wrong, but they're pontificating about their brand. And honestly, I see brands as the franchises as something that might be looking in the next 5 years in the past. That's the way I look at it. Anyway, look, we're up against time, man. And it's been a pleasure having you on. I hope so. I hope I can get you back on in the future.
Absolutely. You've been an absolute rock star, man, with just everything leading up to us being able to do this and just the whole way you operate the show. I freaking love it. I love your style, and I definitely want to get to know you more. So I am committed to doing another one. Just let me know.
Thank you so much, man. And look, I got to ask, there's one question or one thing I ask. We've got your information running on the bottom and your Instagram and TikTok up there. What can I do to help you grow your business?
Oh, good question. Hey, you can show up to the debate next week. Broke Agent Media, YouTube.
What's the date?
The date's going to be Wednesday. I don't know what the date is, but it's next Wednesday. It's going to be 12 Eastern, so noon Eastern time. And you know what you guys can really do? The 9th. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, Broke Agent Media YouTube, would mean a lot to me.
I already do, and I will continue. And last but not least, Byron, I know you've been scheduling and everything else, and the main reason you came on was to get a hat.
Yes, 100%.
Which is going to be sent to you. Hey, man, thank you so much. I'll be in touch with you. If you can hang on for 1 second, great. If not, I get it. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. Next week, we've got Carolyn Goslin from New Jersey coming on, a great team leader. She's miss
a rock star.
We'll see you. We'll see you all next week. If you can stay on, do it. Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And we'll see everybody next week. Where is it? There it is.